of people's dreams, hopes, aspirations, visions, and values. But you also give us a caution, and I'll read that as well, that shared values should never be used as an excuse for the suppression of dissent. So tell us how the shared values and a little bit of the warning.
Well, Inspire a Shared Vision, again, is a combination of both the leader's voice and the constituent's voice. Leaders have to be forward-looking. They need to look into the future and make sure that we understand what's coming, whether it's political, economic, social, personal, and then paint a picture of it in such a way that we want to move towards that new future. So it's both a personal looking ahead, but then looking at what all of us as constituents want and painting that, because if I can't see myself in the picture, I'm not going to want to get on board. But the dilemma around shared values and shared vision is once we have consensus on something, we may have blinders on to other things that might be coming in our direction. Just one example, if you take the automotive industry back before the Japanese were major competitors, they were blindsided by the issue of quality, thinking that if we build these cars that Americans want that are big and gas guzzling and maybe they aren't so reliable, but nobody really cares about that because we're going to buy a new car every couple of years. Then the Japanese came along with high quality cars that were a bit more fuel efficient. They were blindsided. And so it's important that we also stay open to hearing other voices, other trends, other things that are happening so that we are not so focused that we don't see other possibilities.
Seeing those other possibilities, I believe, come out of this third one, which is challenging the process. I think that's one of the ways we open up our eyes as well. What is it? If it's there was that great line, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Yeah. And someone once said, if it's not broke, break it. So that's, again, challenging the process does that for us, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you're going to have a vision of the future that's new and distinctive, and it requires change. It requires doing things differently than we do them today. And so consequently, I have to be innovative and creative and challenge the core processes. As one of our interviewees put it, be an enzyme, be a catalytic agent for change. And we need to search then for new opportunities to introduce new and different ways of doing things, regardless of what our profession, our industry, our community might be. And then we also need to make sure that in doing so, we don't punish people for making the inevitable mistakes they make when they try something new, because none of us ever got anything right the first time. So we got to learn. We develop a learning attitude, and leaders promote learning and feedback so that people can understand where they made a mistake, what they can do differently.
And you also are very clear to not say to make change just for change's sake or to lead for lead's sake. You have to really have this soul-searching aspect to your life so that you're really leading with the right values for the right things.
Yeah, challenge for its own sake can be rather irritating. Oh, let's do this and let's do that. It's sort of like putting on new clothing just to try them on in the store to see what they look like. When you're talking about leadership, it's challenge for a purpose. For what purpose? And so we can't just challenge the process devoid of some common vision, some shared purpose.
Fourth in the five principles, enabling others to act. Do not hoard power. Give it away as long as it's founded on trust.
The fundamental glue that holds us all together is trust. And leaders who have the interpersonal competence to build trusting relationships and build collaborative relationships are far more successful than those who destroy relationships. The number one item we have an assessment instrument called the Leadership Practices Inventory. And the single most important item, the most predictive of whether somebody will be successful at leading or not, is the statement, treats others with dignity and respect. The more people agree that that's true about that person, the more likely they are to be successful as a leader.
That one is so obvious and so ignored. Yeah. It is the biggest dichotomy I'm aware of. I'm leveling with you in the workforce because it's so It's not even counterintuitive. If it was counterintuitive, sometimes counterintuitive stuff I could understand being difficult. It's just so natural. It's biblical almost. It's the golden rule, isn't it?
It's a golden rule. And yet you see it violated so many times when people assume, well, I'm the boss, and if you don't agree with me, I have the right to insult you. So it's violated all the time. Colleagues of ours, Fernando Arroy's, Claudio Fernandez Arroy's, who is a partner in Egon Zehnder International, an international search firm, did some work globally, and he found that, and this is one of those things that initially may be counterintuitive, but again makes sense. He found that those executives who are high on intelligence, but low on this ability to build trusting relationships with other people, are actually not only less effective, or more likely to create failure than success. Only those executives who are high on emotional intelligence, the ability to build good relationships with others, and have great experience, are successful. IQ does not predict whether somebody will be successful or not. It really is this emotional equation.
Which leads then to the favorite one. It is. You see how talk about how these all lead in there. That is, encourage the heart. What motivates the individual? Find out what that is. The great person theory of leadership is wrong because there are so many heroes. So when you're encouraging the heart of others, that's how they then give back to you way beyond what you even imagine sometimes. I see people rise to the occasion and then exceed what I wanted from them because I'm hoping that I'm reaching them in that manner.
Oh, yeah. Another one of the people we interviewed, Erwin Fetterman, who's now at Monolithic Memories, it's a venture firm, commented to us, he said, "We will work harder and more effectively for people we like, and we will like them in direct proportion to how they make us feel."
Can I go into your next line? You're leading me, Jim. Who's better to lead than the man who wrote the Leadership Challenge? You use those words, and I starred them so many times. What people really want to hear is not simply the leader's vision. They want to hear about their own aspirations. That's what what is leadership but bringing out the best in everyone else's aspirations, what they feel is going to benefit themselves and society as they see it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. When we're leading others, there's kind of a built-in assumption, I think, to a lot of the mythology about leadership, that leaders are people who go off and they get inspired and they come down from the mountain and they deliver the tablets and people follow them because they know the truth. But if you listen very carefully between the lines, to steal your
I wish I did have a patent on that, but I don't, or a trademark at least, but I don't.
So between those lines, the best leaders are listening very carefully to what others are saying and understanding them and being able to play them back so that we say, oh, yeah, that's what I meant. That's where I want to go. You heard me.
Well, the underpinning philosophy of this entire book is that empathy.
Mm-hmm.
It is to be empathetic, to truly step outside of yourself. That's truly, if there's a challenge to being a leader, it's that ability to do that.
Yeah, it is the greatest challenge because when we're made to be so important, we have big titles, and leadership is often associated with those things, even though we consider it everyone's business. And because we become so self-important, we think that we somehow do know the truth. And the best leaders are the most humble. They're people who understand that I got to be where I am because I treated other people with dignity and respect. I listened to them, not because I have a patent on the truth, not because I know everything, but because I was able to understand what other people want and articulate it in such a way that it made sense.